Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Bob Datz. I am a member of the program committee of the Center for Global Justice. Last year, we celebrated 20 years as San Miguel's multicultural, progressive research and education center. We seek to empower people to work to create a more socially and economically just world. We invite you to join our Monday programs, seminars, and our mailing list as well for updates. You can do that by visiting globaljusticecenter.org. In line with our mission, the Center is very happy to present the second in a series of plays written by San Miguel's award-winning playwright, David Haddad. Now, David's plays do not shy away from religion or politics. You get them both. One of David's earlier plays, a satire called Yahweh the Floorwalker, took second place in the 2024 New York International Theater Script.
Wow.
It was also produced at the Pittsburgh New Works Festival at Duquesne University. And last fall, the Center for Global Justice sponsored Yahweh the Floorwalker here in San Miguel. We're very proud of David and of our association with his work. At some point in the future, we would like to sponsor another of Dave's satires. This time, the target is the beloved Donald J. Trump. The name of the play is Donovan Rex, set in mythical Greece, where arrogant kings suffered horrible fates, including gouging their eyes out. They didn't settle for impeachment. Tonight, we present The Scope of William Jennings Bryan. As you may know, this month is the 100th anniversary of the Scope's monkey trial. Who here has seen Inherit the Wind? Well, please forget it. That portrayal does a disservice to the true scope of William Jennings Bryan. This play shows that our collective memory of Bryan was grossly distorted by that movie, that the truly progressive side of Bryan's political legacy has been long lost, and we are all the worse for that. This play is a distillation of many speeches Bryan made over his career, with bits of Dave's artistic license thrown in. Our cast and crew tonight consists of Director Marjorie Byrne, appearing in the role of Miss Tucker as well, a newspaper reporter. Gene Harvey is Mr. Crockett, and Frank Simmons has the role of Master Orator William Jennings Bryan. Roger Johns operates our teleprompter tonight, and audiovisual tech is by Miguel Torres. So, turn off your cell phones and then prepare for a rowdy evening of religion and politics. Now, let's see, hear, and experience the scope of William Jennings Bryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Winchester, thank you for your patience. The train carrying William Jennings Bryan is just now entering the station. The great man himself, the great commoner, will be here to speak to you momentarily. Mr. Bryan will be thrilled to see that 8,000 people have come to hear him speak. 8,000 people. That's more than the entire population of Winchester. Thanks to Mr. Bryan, we won, ladies and gentlemen. No longer will our tax dollars be spent to pay for schools that teach atheism to children. If atheists want to teach atheism, let them build their own private schools. Mr. Bryan is a hero, a godly hero. Will Bryan withstood the criticism. He withstood all those insults from the Eastern press. They said that William Jennings Bryan was opposed to free speech. But you and I know that trial was never about free speech. We are Americans. And any American has the right to believe whatever they want to believe, but taxpayers have rights too. They said William Jennings Bryan was opposed to science. But you and I know that Christians are not opposed to science. Why? We are indebted to science for inventing so many modern conveniences. Electric shavers, vacuum cleaners, and the radio. It was by listening to our radios that we all heard the verdict in the trial. Bryan won. Ladies and gentlemen, William Jennings Bryan has arrived. And it's my great pleasure to present to you the man we all know and love, the man we proudly nominated 3 times to be candidate of the Democratic Party for the office of the Presidency of the United States. The man who made it his political mission to keep the United States out of the bloody foreign conflicts. The man who resigned the office of Secretary of State rather than support that horrible European war. The man who reminded us that America is a republic and not an empire. The man who refused to let rich industrialists crucify mankind on a cross of gold. And most importantly, the man who believed in the depths of his Christian heart that God, the God that he believed in, was not in the business of giving one group of people the right to slaughter another group of people. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you William Jennings Bryan!
Thank you, Mr. Puckett. It's an honor to be here with you, and thank you for your kind introduction. My friends, the trial is over, and we won. I thank the people of Dayton. I thank the people of Jasper, and now I am here to thank you, the good people of Winchester, Tennessee. I'm here to thank you for your support. I'm here to thank you for paying no heed to the false and distorted newspaper and radio accounts of that trial. You, my faithful supporters, know the truth. And now the world needs to know the truth. The world needs to hear something other than the ridicule of so-called reporters like H.L. Mencken. By now, you are all familiar with Mr. Mencken, the man who called the good people of Tennessee yokels. Believe me, he called me much worse. But take solace in this. I have seen a great many people in my life, but I have never seen in Tennessee a face that had so little intelligence as the face of H.L. Mencken. Mencken is argumentative, cynical, confrontational. He and others like him are not journalists. They are fanatics and provocateurs. They follow the lead of so-called yellow journalists, men like William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer. Those crazed jingoes made obscene profits by frightening the nation into unjust and unnecessary wars. They know that there's money to be made in sensationalism. These showmen, these hucksters, they should at least have the decency to tell the public what they are really offering. They're not offering truth. They're not offering news. They are offering only cheap and salacious entertainment. I'm afraid that journalists like H.L. Mencken, along with their corporate employers, will haunt this nation for decades to come. Beware the media, my friends. Corporate greed has corrupted and poisoned what was once a noble profession and an invaluable American institution.
Hang on, Mr. Bryan. I'm a member of the press. Jane Tucker, Winchester Herald.
Then hear me, Miss Tucker, and report the truth.
What truth?
The world needs to know the truth about Clarence Darrow. Yes, we were on opposite sides in the courtroom, but the truth is that Clarence Darrow campaigned for me when I ran for president. He voted for me. The truth is that Clarence Darrow agreed with me on the need to protect children from atheism. Just last year, he argued in court that young minds can indeed be swayed to commit horrible acts of violence through the reading of indecent novels and the study of atheistic philosophies.
Darrow's a typical big city lawyer. He talks out of both sides of his mouth.
You want the truth, Mr. Bryan? The truth is that Darrow made you look foolish on the witness stand.
If that's all you reported about the trial, Miss Tucker, you have done a grave disservice to your readers. Mr. Darrow asked me if I understood everything in the Bible. I answered no. But I live up to what I do understand, and I shall not allow a few obscure passages to deprive me of the beauty of the Christian religion. Perhaps I should not have agreed to testify. My wife Mary, she advised me against it. Maybe I should have listened to her. But I dared them. I wanted to defend the Bible. Mary asked me, well, since when does the Bible need your help? Mr. Darrow, he is a clever man. He succeeded in putting the Bible on trial. But he knew, and you know, that it was only Mr. John Scopes who should have been judged, and in the end, he was.
Mr. Bryan, you only want a decision from the court regarding an obscure Tennessee statute.
A narrow view from a narrow-minded reporter. Legally speaking, Miss Tucker is correct. We want nothing more than that. Mr. Scopes was clearly in violation of a very simple law, but our side raised a very everlasting issue. The everlasting issue that Mr. Darrow prevented me from presenting in my closing argument. Here it is.
Read it. Let's hear it.
My friend, there's nothing more I would like than to read it to you now, but the text is way too long and the weather is much too hot. I'm afraid that we humans have not yet evolved to handle this heat. But I can tell you this. It all began with this awful book. This book, A Civic Biology. Well, even the title is awful. What does civics have to do with biology? The civic biology teaches that there are 5 races of man. The Negro, the Malay Islander, the American Indian, the yellow race, and finally the highest type of all, the Caucasians. Yes, the so-called white inhabitants of Europe and America. Does the Bible teach that God created 5 men and sprinkled them on the various continents of the world?
No.
God created 1 man, 1 race, the human race. Would anyone here like our children to be taught otherwise?
No.
A civic biology teaches that man should be bred like animals by applying the laws of natural selection. Does the Bible teach that man, God's finest creation, can be improved like a domesticated animal?
No.
Man rises not by breeding. Man rises when drawn upward by a higher power. And that higher power is God. Civic biology teaches that there are so-called parasitic families which spread disease, immorality, and crime to all parts of the country. Does the Bible teach that Jesus treated the lame and the ill and the less fortunate as parasites?
No.
Is there anyone here who does not understand why Mr. Scopes was put on trial?
No.
Is there anyone here who wants a civic biology used in the schools of Tennessee?
No.
Then let us say goodbye to civic biology. But it remains to be asked, from where do these insidious ideas come? They came from Charles Darwin himself, the high priest of evolution, to whom other evolutionists bow. Darwin believed the weak should be not allowed to succumb to smallpox. Darwin would deprive you of vaccines. Darwin wants to select who among us can breathe. Thus, Darwin reveals the barbarous sentiment that runs through evolution.
Mr. Bryan, are you going on record as calling evolutionists barbarians?
Lest you think that barbarous is too strong a word, Miss Tucker, let me assure you that it is their word and not mine. A good journalist would have known that. The proponents admit that evolution is a bloody business. They say that barbarism is the only process by which man has ever truly progressed. Barbarism. Barbarism is what evolution offers. Barbarous social Darwinism is here, my friends. Eugenics is here. Racial injustice is here. And in Europe as well, especially in Germany. German scientists are coming here to study eugenics. There's a far-right political party in Germany. Its leader is a man named Adolf Hitler. The man was recently released from prison. His power is growing. His party is a party of social Darwinism, a party of racial superiority, a party of barbarians. Once again, that is their word and not mine. Mass exterminations are on the horizon. This is what Darwinism has brought into the world. There remains to discuss the doctrine of evolution itself, this so-called modern scientific truth. The truth is this. Darwin doubted his own theory. I simply refer to you chapter 6 and chapter 9 of his own book. The truth is this. Scientists today in 1925, decades after Darwin, doubt the theory of evolution. The truth is this. Scientists today say that chemistry is an insurmountable obstacle in the path of evolution. Chemicals are non-living substances. There is no progressive force in nature to compel non-living chemicals to become living cells. The truth is this. Mathematicians doubt evolution. Evolution by way of genetic mutation. This is the theory of evolution offered by Darwin. Given enough time and enough genetic mutations, anything can happen. 1 million monkeys and 1 million typewriters for 1 million years. This is the metaphor often used by evolutionists to explain the process of evolution. Man did not come from 1 million monkeys 1 million years ago. And 1 million monkeys in 1 million years cannot do what God did in 6 days.
Mr. Bryan, you are just against modern science.
Check your facts, Miss Tucker. I'm not opposed to science. In fact, I'm not even opposed to the teaching of evolution. Did you not read the law? Oh, well, Tennessee law does not prohibit teaching evolution. It only prohibits teaching that man, God's finest creation, descended from a lower order of animals. That's all. The Bible teaches that man was made in the image and likeness of God. Is that such an awful thing to believe?
No.
In fact, it is one of the most inspiring lines in the entire Bible. God is a matter of indifference to the evolutionists. A life beyond has no charm for them. Belief in evolution leads to agnosticism and then to atheism. There's no doubt. This is what happened to Darwin himself. Charles Darwin studied for the ministry for 3 years at Cambridge. He believed every word in the Bible was literally true. Every word. Yet, at the time of his death, Darwin wrote that he had given up on the Bible as the Word of God. He had given up on Christ. No teacher of evolution is honest unless he teaches what Darwinism did to Darwin. We can only pray that one day the dark forces of atheism will be defeated. We pray that one day belief in a creator will be as accepted in the future as it was in the past. This, my friends, is the everlasting issue. Do these evolutionists stop to think of the crime they commit when they take faith out of the hearts of children and lead them into a starless, godless night? Better for them that a millstone be hanged around their necks and be cast into the sea than that they should offend these little ones. My friends, you have now had a small taste of my closing argument. And I'm feeling a little bit faint from the heat. With that, I will take my leave of Winchester. Thank you very much.
Oh, wait, Mr. Bryan. What do you think your legacy will be?
My legacy? This is a question I am often asked. After 30 years on the national stage, how do I believe I will be remembered in 20, 50, even 100 years from now? My friends, I wish I could give you a hopeful answer. However, I believe that if I am remembered at all, it will only be for my testimony in that silly moment of the trial. All my speeches, all my work for world peace will fall by the historical wayside.
Well, we Democrats will always remember you for your political principles.
Perhaps you will, Mr. Crockett, but the leaders of our party will not.
Well, tell them again now. Tell them so they'll never forget.
This country, the greatest country on earth, will never overcome its greatest problem. As I have said many times, the greatest problem of this nation in the past, in the present, and sadly 100 years in the future is an insidious evil. I speak of the evil of imperialism. If the United States or any imperialist power invades and occupies other nations, be it the Philippines, the countries of Asia, or the Middle East, the subject peoples will fight and resist. For God placed in every human heart the love of liberty. He never made a race of people so low in the scale of civilization or intelligence that it would welcome a foreign master. Abraham Lincoln said that the safety of this nation was not in its fleets, or its armies, or its forts, but in the spirit, which prizes liberty as the heritage of all men in all lands. He warned that if this spirit were destroyed, the seeds of despotism will be planted at our own doors. Lincoln was right. The despots are coming, my friends.
But we need a large standing army. We need to defend our country.
Against whom, Miss Tucker? Are we not protected by oceans on either side? Only if we have an imperial foreign policy do we need a large standing army. A large standing army is a menace to the Republican form of government. The army is a personification of force. To worship the military is to worship a false idol. Militarism inevitably changes the ideals of the people. It will turn the thoughts of our young men from the arts of peace to the science of war. militarism as a way of life. It is not a way of life at all. It is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. What title do we have to other countries? Did we buy them? Did we purchase the people too? Or were the people just thrown in with the land? We are Americans. We believe that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. It is therefore impossible to secure title to human beings either by force or by purchase.
Well, wars might be bad, but at least they create prosperity.
More dangerous ignorance from the government repeated by the know-nothing press.
Right.
Wars create prosperity? Prosperity for whom? War is profitable to the army contractor. It is profitable to the ship owners who carry live soldiers abroad and bring dead soldiers back. It is profitable to the vile newspapers who love to print sensational stories of death and destruction. But to men like you, and to the men like those who surround you, to the farmer, to the laborer, war brings expenditure without return, risk without reward. Enriching the nation cannot justify men spilling each other's blood. It is a sordid doctrine that would have put a price on the life of an American soldier. It is a sordid doctrine that justifies a war of conquest on the ground that it will be profitable. The United States should be in favor of trade, but it is not willing to make merchandise of human blood. The economic argument for imperialism is bad enough, but infinitely worse is the religious argument.
Religion! Yes! Surely you must believe that we must spread Christianity throughout the world.
Spreading Christianity through war? Can any idea be more obscene? Perhaps you have read in the papers recently that I am a Christian and that I believe in this Bible. At least they got that much right. Yes, I am a Christian. Yes, I believe in the Bible. But I do not believe in the gunpowder gospel. The gunpowder gospel. The false gospel that says that every bullet sent, every cannon shot, and every flag wave is a sign of Christian righteousness. The false God that says we ought to thrash the natives until they understand who we Christians are. Are we commanded to civilize with dynamite and proselytize with the sword?
No.
The biblical command is to go ye into all the world and preach the word of God to every creature. We are not commanded to use machine guns in the process. Compare, if you will, the brutal doctrine of imperialism with the golden rule and the commandment, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, not force, was the weapon of the Nazarene.
But it's our destiny. It's our manifest destiny.
Miss Tucker, are you really content to uncritically repeat the cheap political slogans of politicians and still call yourself a journalist?
I'm reporting the objective truth. It's what the government said. What choice do I have?
Your choice is this. Compare what the politicians say to the Nazarene's message of peace. Then report to the people what is truth and not what is mere propaganda. Our manifest destiny. When politicians are unable to defend their imperialist ideas by argument, they proclaim that it is our destiny. They insist that we must submit to our destiny, no matter how much it violates our moral precepts and our principles of government. This is a complacent philosophy. It obliterates the distinction between right and wrong and makes our nation a helpless victim of circumstance. Destiny is the subterfuge of the spineless. George Washington said that the destiny of the Republican form of government was entrusted to you, the American people. Washington was right. The destiny of this republic is in our hands. This nation has come of age. It can do what it pleases. It can repudiate the principles on which this nation rests. It can substitute might for right. It can conquer weaker nations. It can exploit their land, appropriate their property, and kill their people. But it cannot repeal the moral law or escape the punishment decree for the violation of human rights.
Well, Mr. Bryan, are you all right?
Well, thank you, Mr. Parker. Friends, I humbly ask your indulgence. I just need a little more water. If I may continue, American imperialism. The evil that springs from American imperialism is bad enough. But this evil will be multiplied when our example is followed by other nations. We are being watched, my friends, studied around the world. The insidious American doctrine of manifest destiny will be emulated by other imperialist nations. These nations may not call it manifest destiny. They may simply refer to it as their expansion of a need for living space.
Well, how could our politicians go down this imperialistic path? I mean, that's not what we voted for.
My friends, the answer is that the politicians you voted for are not the real rulers of this country. The real rulers are not men at all. The real rulers are soulless corporations. Our judges tell us that corporations are men. This is a legal and moral obscenity. Does the Bible teach that on the sixth day God created the corporation?
No.
God created man. Man created the corporation. God made man and placed him upon his footstool to carry out a divine reprieve. But man created the corporation as a money-making machine. When God made man, he did not make the tallest man much taller than the shortest. He did not make the strongest man much stronger than the weakest. But when our laws created the corporate man, that man may be 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 times stronger than the God-made man. When God made man, he set a limit to his existence, so that if he were evil, he could not be evil for long. But when the corporation was created, the limit on age was raised. It projects itself throughout the generations. When God made man, he gave him a soul and warned him that in the next world he would be held accountable for the deeds done in the flesh. When man created the corporation, he could not endow that corporation with a soul. If a corporation escaped punishment here, it need not fear the hereafter. The people who created the corporation must retain the power to control it. We must never become so enthusiastic over the corporation as to forget the God-made man who was here first.
Down with the plutocrats.
There are two ideas of government, my friend. There are those who believe that if you will only legislate to make the well-to-do prosperous, their prosperity will leak through on those below. The Democratic idea, however, has been that if you legislate to make the masses prosperous, their prosperity will find its way up through every class which rests upon them. The rich and powerful rest upon you, my friends. You do not rest upon them. Let that be clear.
The rich deserve what they have. I mean, they're smarter than the rest of us.
We are Christians, my friends. We do not attack race. We do not attack religion. We do not attack individuals. We attack greed and avarice. We attack the trust. 3 times I ran for president. 3 times I warned the people about the power of the trust, the corporatocracy, the rule by the few over the many. If only we could have stopped it. But they stopped us, my friends, 3 times. And now it's too late. The unelected have taken over. They are the real rulers, not those silly puppets in Washington. The public knows these puppets as generals and cabinet members and judges and senators and, yes, even as presidents.
Well, what kind of democracy do we have when we vote for puppets rather than leaders? I mean, are we going to lose our democracy altogether?
Democracy only works when the rich feel threatened. But the puppets in government will never threaten the oligarchs. They will only threaten you. Even if the crimes of Wall Street were to become painfully obvious, even if the oligarchs of their own avarice were to bankrupt themselves, the puppets in Washington would be there to bail them out at your expense. It can get even worse, my friends. Someday, the oligarchs won't be content to rely on puppets to do their bidding. Wall Street will put one of their own in the White House.
That's impossible. Not in America. How could it happen?
Yeah, tell us.
Oh, yes, tell us. Make it simple so I can understand it.
Then listen and learn, Miss Tucker. There's only one way. They will disguise him as a populist. The party will trumpet an oligarch as the man of the people.
Which party are you talking about?
It won't matter. The corporatocracy will buy them both. Today's political parties are capable of anything.
A greedy oligarch in the White House. The papers will expose him as a crackpot.
I'm afraid not, Mr. Crockett. The newspapers will fall in line. There's a lot of money to be made with a crackpot in the White House. Oh, isn't that right, Miss Tucker?
Hey, Mr. Bryan, we got to make a buck, don't we?
But Americans will know a crackpot when they see one.
My friends, when the politicians and the yellow journalists really want to fool the people, they will find a way to do it. Even my people, the people of the great commoner, can be fooled. This is how a crazed, phony populist will become the scourge to our nation. He will turn statecraft upside down. Eloquence and scholarship will give way to babbling and buffoonery. This demagogue, this clown, this vulgar stooge, he will not have any real solutions to the country's problems. He will only urge you to worship the golden calf of blind patriotism. So then he won't need any real solution. He will only need scapegoats. Dangerous scapegoats. Identifying scapegoats is always a sure way to get votes. After he is elected, when the damage is done, the papers will continue to make money by shedding crocodile tears for the loss of our democracy and our national self-respect.
Well, but we would vote him out of office. He would be a one-term president. We'd impeach him.
Demagogue can be impeached. A demagogue can be convicted of crimes. But even that may not be enough. A demagogue can always rise again. The Bible tells us that at the sound of the trumpets, the walls of Jericho collapsed, so too may the walls of our republic. My time in government has long since passed. My message was not heard. But I thank you for hearing me today. And I'll take my leave now.
Wait. Mr. Bryan, please tell us why you resigned as Secretary of the United States. You could have kept us out of that horrible European war.
My friends, I have grown tired. Cabinet meetings have become so hard for me. My wife shuddered when she saw me coming home with bloodshot eyes and weary steps. Lying awake 3 or 4 hours at a time, tossing and turning, jotting down memoranda for the next day's work. I begged President Wilson not to allow Wall Street bankers to lend money to France, or to England, or to any of those warring European countries. It was inevitable that the oligarchs would pressure President Wilson to side with the Allies to protect their financial interests. I could never sanction sending our young men to die for the sake of Wall Street loans. Nor should we ever. I begged Wilson to be critical of both sides in the war, not just Germany. He did not listen. He overlooked the British atrocities.
The British committed atrocities.
Miss Tucker, did your paper only allow you to report on German atrocities?
It did.
Do you know nothing of England's sadistic plan?
England? Sadistic?
It was the blockade of Germany. The plan was devised by a British Navy man, a man named Churchill. His intention was to starve the Germans, starve them all, men, women, and children. And Wilson excused it. England is not exercising her power in any objectionable way, he said, for it is controlled by a democracy. Starving civilians is an act of a democracy.
Yes, but the British simply said that they imposed economic sanctions on Germany.
Economic sanctions. Such a sterile phrase. A phrase that can only be invented by a soulless government bureaucrat and repeated by a naive journalist. Do you still not know what economic sanctions mean? It means the mass starvation and death of innocent civilians. I pray that this country never imposes economic sanctions on the people of another nation. When Wilson refused to criticize the British, when he only criticized Germany, I knew that American entry into the war was inevitable, and I had to resign as the Secretary of State.
You did the right thing, Will.
A terrible war. The most contrived and pointless war in world history. The Archduke's assassination started it all. Imagine a head of state and his wife riding in a motorcade in an unprotected vehicle, shot by a lone gunman. An absurd story, but it can happen here too, my friend. The warmongers will stop at nothing. I was one of the very few who appealed to the president for mediation from the first rumblings of the war. The president had an opportunity to maintain international peace. That's the greatest work a man can do.
Yes, but Wilson told us he agreed with you.
Mrs. Tucker, will you never understand? Of course the president said he agreed with me, but only to get reelected. I was not fooled by his change of attitude then, and you should not be fooled by any future president who says he will keep us out of war. I pray that Wilson would keep open the way for mediation and arbitration between nations. Instead, he opted for preparedness. All joined in the chorus for peace. But how, according to the Jingos, was peace to be ensured? By preparedness, said these sons of Mars. Prepare, all prepare, and equip yourself with the most modern implements of destruction. Arm, drill, get ready, then stand with your finger on a hair-trigger musket to preserve the peace. Yes, preserve it until someone, by accident or design, gives the signal, and all fall upon each other with cries for blood. Preparedness is the kindling, opportunity is the match. We dare not trust the peace of the world to those who spend their time in getting ready for wars that should never come. Preparedness provokes it. Preparedness cultivates hatred as if it was a national virtue. There must be someone to fear, some other preparing nation that must be represented as plotting for war. How can preparedness prevent war if all prepare? Ah, no, my friends, I did all I could. But I could not have prevented that horrible European war. Most pointless war in the history of the world. No, the Jingoes will write the history. They will say that the Great War was a noble cause. No one who advocated for peace will be acknowledged in any way. And now we face a horrible future.
A horrible future.
Because of the misuse of science. Science is a magnificent material force, but it is not a teacher of morals. In war, science is an evil genius. It has made war more terrible than it was before. Man used to be content to slaughter his fellow man on a single plane, the Earth's surface. But science has taught him how to go down into the water and shoot up from above, or below, and to go up into the clouds and shoot down from above, thus making the battlefield 3 times as bloody as it was before.
No, Mr. Bryan, no. There won't be another war. This was the war to end all wars. Wilson made the world safe for democracy.
My friends, we will see no rise in democracy in Europe or elsewhere. Wilson's war was only enabled more imperialism. Nowhere more so than in the Middle East. The duplicitous promises made by the British to the indigenous Arabs and the colonial Zionists will haunt the world for decades to come. The consequences of imperialism, as always, will be catastrophic. Imperialism, colonialism, these so-called mandates of one country to rule another. How many speeches did I make? How many warnings did I give? The cries of a Cassandra. War will come again in Europe and around the world. Above all, I fear the ruin that our own nation will bring to the world. So far from what our founders wanted.
You're not a patriot, Mr. Bryan.
My friends, if I am not a patriot, then neither was Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson denounced imperialism in the strongest terms. But this nation, ironically, is now patterned after our old enemies, the imperial British. America, once the oppressed, is now the oppressor. There's no greater tragedy, no greater irony.
Well, do we have any hope for peace?
There is this. The substitution of reason for force and the settlement of international disputes. The conversion of the world by the silent influence of a noble example. Our nation ought not to wait for other nations. It ought to take the lead. It ought to prove its faith in the omnipotence of Christian truth. It may be a slow process, but it is the only sure one. Good night, my friends, and may God bless you all.
Mr. Bryan, what are your plans now that the trial is over?
Well, my wife wants me to look after my health.
Well, you need to listen to Mary. She cares about you.
My friends, I'm happy to tell you that I just came from the doctor. I had a complete physical exam just 2 days ago. Well, he said, you got 5 more good years ahead of you. Mary doesn't believe a word of it. Even if it's true, she says, you need to slow your pace. The trial has placed an enormous strain on you. She tells me that. But I'm feeling fine, I tell her. Please don't give it a thought. Belief in the Lord has given me a divine well of life that never runs dry. So please, more sausage, biscuits, red-eyed gravy, black-eyed peas, dirty rice, fried catfish, lamb fries, bread pudding, stacked cakes.
What's in your future?
Well, politics is behind me now, but I will always be in church. You know, I felt sure of my ground when I made political speeches, but I feel even more secure when I make a religious speech. If I can touch one human heart today, I have not spoken in vain, no matter how large the majority may be against me.
Well, you need to reach the young because they're lost.
Oh, of course they're lost, Mr. Crockett. Can you blame them? What guidance have they received? What have they been told? Wilson told them that they must fight in a horrible war. Darwin told them that they're descended from apes. Nietzsche told them that God is dead. Eugenicists told them that they want to breed them like animals. Yes, my friend, today's youth are lost.
Well, what would you like to tell them?
What would I tell them? Ideals. The way to reach the young is to get them to take firm hold of a high ideal. Ideals dominate their life, determine their character, and fires their place among their fellows. Ideals of life lift young people above the sordid selfishness that surrounds them. But what ideals do we offer our young people today? The ideal, not of public service, but only of military service. The ideal, not of brotherly love, but vilification of immigrants. The ideal, not of statesmanship in government, but of an ever faster race into the abyss of sheer demagoguery. When the young are subjected to unmitigated depravity, there can be only one outcome. Mass killings of Americans by Americans.
Oh no, Mr. Bryan, that could never happen here.
Americans will be radicalized against each other by the inflamed rhetoric of the demagogue.
Never, never. This is America. We are a peaceful people.
Not everyone is, Miss Tucker. The Ku Klux Klan is here to stay, my friend. It will use different names. It will evolve into more virulent and deadly strength. But its repulsive ideology will always be the same. We will have in America, with many of its citizens armed and angry, an America that elects demagogues to lead them. An America that worships its military. An America that sees its right to bear arms as if it were a commandment from God. An America under the influence of social Darwinism and the godless doctrine of evolution.
Well, who will tell us the truth if you're not around?
Only God knows how much longer I will be here with you. Fortunately, there will be those who come after me. Intellectuals, historians, social critics, economists, and even true journalists. They will expose immoral wars abroad. They will expose the criminal exercise of military power. They will expose the infringement of government on personal freedom. They will expose corporate malfeasance. They will expose the hideous marriage of an imperialist government to the war privateer. But those who come after me will be marginalized, persecuted, or even killed. The citizens residing in the American cave will only see the dark shadows of patriotism on the unscalable government wall. "30 years ago, I told the nation that I could conceive of a national destiny surpassing the glories of the past, a destiny resting secure upon the foundation stones quarried by the revolutionary patriots from the mountain of eternal truth. Sadly, today, I can only conceive of a national destiny that will never approach the glories of the past. A destiny sinking rapidly into a foundation of mud taken from the river Styx by the treacherous politicians destined to spend eternity in another place. Behold a republic that has forgotten that all men are created equal. Behold a republic in which no citizen is a sovereign, and in which oligarchs wear a crown. Behold a republic which can no longer stand erect, and it is now bowed beneath the weight of its own ornaments. Behold a republic whose flag is hated by other nations. Behold a republic decreasing in wealth, in strength, and influence. Behold a republic with aristocrats sitting on thrones in abject moral darkness. Behold the republic becoming the supreme hindrance to the world's progress and the source of the world's disputes. A republic whose future reads, like the signs at the gates of hell, abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
The gates of hell? Abandon all hope? This is America. Shame on you, Mr. Bryan.
The shame lies with the godless. The shame lies with those who would pervert the Nazarene's message of peace. The shame lies with those who use religion as a pretext for war. This, my friends, is why we must never abandon religion for a godless thing. Look at today's so-called morality. It's all about self-interest.
Yes, self-interest. That's the American way.
Capitalism, money, selfishness. Our society is saturated with it. It has permeated our moral consciousness. But I say that man is a religious being. The human heart instinctively seeks a God. Whether he worships on the banks of the Ganges, prays with his sun up to turn to the sun, kneels toward Mecca, or communes with the Heavenly Father, according to the Christian creed, man is essentially divine.
These are modern times. Shouldn't we be skeptical of your old religious ideas?
My friends, please never be skeptical of religious ideas. But by all means, be skeptical of the demagogues who will misuse religious ideas to promote wrong. Religious skepticism. Today, people think it is smart to be skeptical. They talk as if it were evidence of a larger intelligence to scoff at creeds and to refuse to be connected with churches. They call themselves the cultured crowd. The cultured crowd assumes an intellectual superiority which it can barely conceal. The cultured crowd has discarded the idea that there is a God. The cultured crowd thinks that the mind of man created an all-powerful God, just as it created an all-powerful corporation. The cultured crowd regards religion as a superstition, pardonable in the ignorant, but unworthy of the educated. My friends, religious sentiment does not rest upon a superstitious fear of invisible forces. It rests upon man's consciousness of his finitude amid an infinite universe. This consciousness man can never outgrow. Modern man searches for God with a telescope because he cannot see God among the stars. He declares that there is no God. Please do not become so absorbed with measuring the distance between the stars that you forget Him who holds the stars in His hand. Please, do not let the evolutionists tell you where you came from. It's all animal, with never a thought of God or religion. Who enjoys being told he's an animal?
Not me.
My friends, my wife and I are going home tomorrow. Back to Florida to resume our private life. It was 41 years ago that we were married. Never for a moment have I regretted the fate that brought us together and entwined our lives. My wife has been my only real companion for more than 4 decades. The sharer of every secret and the partner of every purpose. If I have found favor in the sight of God, I pray that He may show it by allowing her to be my comfort while I live. And then by making joy himself. Oh
God, no!
Is there a doctor out there? Wow.